Breaking right now, results in Georgia's primary election finally in from Fulton County.
The county delayed releasing results until all polls close, which just happened at the top of the hour here. 11 Live's Rebecca Lindstrom live for us in studio from the big board with a look at how Fulton County voters weighed in on tonight's key races. Rebecca.
And I know there was some curiosity to see how former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms would do in Fulton County. She started, right now, 56% of the vote. But when you zoom in to Fulton County, you see that those voters only cast 47% in her favor. So that is lower than the overall state average. In fact, her weakest performances here in the metro area were actually in Fulton and DeKalb. She still won both of those counties, but certainly by a lot lower margins than she did in places like Cobb or Cherokee. Now, looking back at Fulton, since those are the big new numbers of the night, I want to also point out what happened with the U.S. Senate race in the Republican primary. We knew that Mike Collins had already been called earlier in the evening, but then Derek Dooley, they were waiting to see just what would happen in Fulton County, because again, this was the part of the state where most of his support was coming from. And indeed, with those Fulton County numbers, he has been showing as the leader here in Fulton County with 45% of the vote. That was enough. When we zoom out and show you the totals, enough to really secure him that runoff placement against Mike Collins. Back here in Fulton County, looking at these, when we take a look at the lieutenant governor's race, not a lot has really changed, but you can see where the support went with the runoff between Josh McLaurin and Nabila Parks. On the Democrat side, on the Republican side for lieutenant governor, John Kennedy still not called for who is going to be in the runoff for that Republican primary for lieutenant governor. But again, these numbers now coming in, so we expect that some of those decisions and calls on races will be made shortly. Back to you.
Okay, Rebecca, thanks a lot. Of course, we're going to have a lot more on 11alive.com, continuously updating those results.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to see how those numbers shake out across the state. And we know there'll be a lot of analysis about that in the coming days here, especially with a runoff in the future.